Arbitrations are supposed to be part of the endgame content in Warframe, but are really easy once you know the best builds or weapons to use. So today, I want to talk to you about making them easier for yourself and how to solo them. First off, there will be some slight spoilers ahead, as I will be using a special mode you get later in the game. But if you're watching this video, I assume you either already have arbitrations unlocked, or are learning what they are for the first time. If you don't have arbitrations yet, I will explain what they are, how you should get them, and then you should leave to not spoil yourself for something big that happens in the game. The mode I will spoil, though, is something you unlock when you're going for arbitration, so yeah, hopefully no one gets mad at me for this. To unlock arbitrations, it's a very simple task, but it can take some time. All you have to do is complete every location on the star chart once, and that's it. You have to play every single map, including the derelict, once through, so that means for endless missions, you have to go through either 5 waves, 5 minutes, whatever you're on, survival, defense, and then just extract successfully, and that's going to be it. Alright, so now that you have arbitrations, let's talk about what they are and what they change. Arbitrations are endless missions that have enemies that scale much faster than any other mode, and they also start at a fairly high level. In this endless mode, it's not what you're used to, everything's doubled. One phase of survival is 10 minutes, defense is 10 waves, interception 2 rounds, excavation is 2 excavators, and defection is 2 long. Although, for real, it's 16 survivals. This one's easy, it's just boring to do. I don't know why, but it seems like it takes longer than the rest. Now, whenever you look at arbitrations in your alert page, you will see that a random weapon and a random Warframe is buffed by 300% strength for the Warframe and 300% damage for the weapon. Now, these change every single hour, so make sure you're constantly looking out for what the rotation is. Another thing that also changes every hour is the enemy type, whether it's Corpus, Infested, or Grineer. And I will say Infested is the easiest to fight. And personally, I think Corpus can be the hardest, although the Bombards and Heavy Gunners can also be pretty scary when fighting the Grineer. I really do just say that Corpus is the hardest because nullifiers, if you're running a certain frame like Nidus, and you step in one of your bubbles, you could be screwed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, as long as you're avoiding nullifiers and you have the right weapons to deal with them, they are fairly easy to avoid. So yeah, let's just keep going. Arbitrations do change a few major things. Of course, you can't respawn whenever you're soloing them if you die, but when you're with a squad, your squad mates can revive you after killing 5 drones and picking up some off-brand index points and taking them to the tower that you dropped when you died. Now, of course, I was just talking about that drone, and let's explain what it is. Now, the Arbitration Drone is a drone that just flies around and makes it so that every enemy around them is invincible. To deal damage to those enemies around him, you have to destroy the drone first, and whenever it dies, it will of course drop the off-brand index point and explode, dealing a decent amount of damage to everyone around it, other than Warframes. I don't know why it doesn't damage us, but it doesn't. Now let's talk about actually running the arbitration and what you should be running in it, so whether it's your Warframe or weapon and stuff like that. Now, you do not have to run whatever frame or weapon that is shown to be buffed, because, I mean, it's only a 300% modifier. Yeah, it's really nice to have if it's like your favorite Warframe or weapon, but this isn't necessary. Every single frame works out just fine here, and honestly, one of the most fun things you can do in this game is run a frame that people don't really enjoy, and just see how long you can make it last. Now, there are a couple of mods that I am going to recommend, so let's just talk about those now. First off, I recommend you run Quick Thinking and Hunter Adrenaline or Rage. The combo of these mods will make it so that whenever you take damage on your health, you get a lot of energy, and if you start to take lethal damage, energy is drained instead. Of course, Quick Thinking drains energy instead of health when you take lethal damage, and then Hunter Adrenaline or Rage are what give you energy when your health is damaged. These are very useful, as it pretty much gives you a second chance if you're about to die, and you can switch into your operator mode to dash away and heal. On that, I also recommend not running shield mods unless you're Hildren, of course, as the less shields you have, the quicker you get more energy, as damage will cut into your health quicker. Of course, depending on who you play, this can also change whether you want this setup or not. Personally, I mostly run Saren, so this build works out just fine with it, and I also run Regenerative Molt, so that it allows healing after taking damage on health. Her Molt is also a good distraction, of course, because the enemies will shoot it instead of me. Now, another reason that Saren is really powerful is because her spores just deal insane amounts of damage, even in the high-level runs. Although the mods I did mention, though, will pretty much make any frame viable here. Of course, if you're already doing fine without the help of these mods, then you don't need to equip them. You can keep doing what you're doing. Just run whatever you are comfortable with running. Let's talk about weapons now. Just like frames, you don't need a meta weapon, you just need a powerful one. Now, this time I will actually recommend a few certain ones, but to be completely honest, you need to run what you enjoy running. As long as it can deal damage. Like, don't get me wrong, if you're going into the game with just a weapon that doesn't deal a lot of damage and takes you forever to kill an enemy, I would not recommend that, but recommend a weapon that you like as long as it is capable of killing the enemies. Now, the first weapon I'm going to recommend is the Catch Moon Kick Gun, because it is insanely powerful, can deal a lot of damage to a lot of enemies at once, and this is primarily what I use whenever I'm playing the game, and it's also what you're seeing in the gameplay. For primaries, I usually use an Opticore Vandal as a heavy hitter, or I'll use my Baza as I have a decent Riven that allows for a lot of slash and crits. The Archiplasmor is also a very powerful weapon if you have that, especially if you have a good build on it, because again, it's like the kick gun that I mentioned, because it can just hit a lot of enemies at the same time. Now for melee weapons, you can use whatever you want, but if you don't have any other form of healing, I will recommend you use Life Strike on your build so that when you lose health, you don't stay with it permanently gone, or that you have to die and be res to get it back, because of course getting a res takes forever, and if you're alone, you don't get to res, so yeah, you're gonna need a way to get your health back so you don't just get one shot by some insanely scary enemy. For your operator, just run whatever tree you're comfortable with. This doesn't really matter as long as you're doing good with what you're running. And again, the same thing can be said for arcanes, run what you want. So yeah, that's basically it for what there is to run. There isn't really a needed meta, and if someone is mad at you for running something that they don't like, just ignore them. Arbitrations aren't that hard, and they don't require insane builds or anything at all. Finally, let's talk about soloing arbitrations, as sometimes you may not want to play with the squad and you just want to play alone. Now for soloing, there are only so many tips that I can provide, and first off, what you're going to want to do is check what the game mode is, and what enemies you're facing. The only modes that I cannot recommend soloing are Interception and Defection. Interception should be an obvious one not to really solo because there are 4 towers, so that can be pretty hard to keep track of whenever you're playing alone. Though if it is the Infested, it can be fairly easy to solo at times, so just make sure you're keeping track of that. Now, Defection I also don't really recommend soloing because whenever you get to the part where you have to extract 2 at the same time, unless you're playing Trinity, it can be very hard to keep them all alive. So, I mean, of course, if you have a good Trinity build, for all means, this is very easy to solo once you have that. But yeah, if you don't have a good form of healing for the defectors, I just highly recommend ignoring this mission. And then defense is also fairly easy to solo as long as you can find somewhere to camp, because the survivor will follow you wherever you go. So if you go into a room, he will go in there and you can protect him at the door. And personally, the easiest one to solo is definitely survival, because not much is required. You can run whoever you want here as long as you survive. Although Necros makes it really easy to solo, as of course you get more airdrops. And you can use any of the others that do this, so like Atlas, Korra, or Hydroid, but they all require the augments to do so, while Necros doesn't. Now, there is an augment that I recommend for him, which is of course Shield of Shadows, because then his undead army will also take your damage instead of yourself. So yeah, that's going to be that. And then for Excavation, you can also solo these with Limbo or Frost, but I also do avoid soloing these, as with teams, they're just so much faster because you can do more than one excavator at the same time. When soloing, one of the most important things to do is keeping track of health and energy, especially if you have quick thinking, because, you know, you don't want to get one shot by anything and then lose all of your energy so you can't use any abilities and then just die because you had 2 health and you thought you were good. I also will say that you do want to kill enemies as fast as you can, especially in those survival modes, because the more there are, if like there are multiple nullifiers piled up and you just run into a corner of them and there's some Corpus Techs in there, they're going to destroy you pretty quickly, so yeah, just watch out for that. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this guide. I just wanted to make this because arbitrations are very easy to do and they aren't much of a challenging endgame, and I just want to help some people out that may be new and think that they might be scary. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, do subscribe, it really helps out. And as always, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out. And I also do want to say that if you did see the first video that I originally posted, that was pretty much the exact same thing as this. This one's a lot more in-depth, as that last one was pretty much just me rambling. I don't know why I even posted it. It wasn't a very good idea. But this one actually got the idea across of what I was trying to do. So yeah, that's it.